Friends, we are back. It is the Friday edition of our video podcast, and as promised today, there is a special guest among us today. It bears no need for introduction to Huntersville United Methodist Church people. This is our dearly beloved Director of Music and Worship. And
dearly beloved?
He is dearly beloved.
Wow.
Charles Morrow is a wonderful human being, and if it's possible to be as wonderful as a person, he is also that. So, welcome, Charles, to our video podcast. Charles, how you doing today?
Doing great. It's good to be on the other side of the wall.
The camera? Yeah. Maybe you can redeem us this week, Charles.
Yeah, we need all the help we can get.
Yeah.
So we were talking about music, experiencing God. We were talking about our United Methodist Wesley tradition in music, and Steve is going to share with us a couple of directions from Brother Wesley.
Yeah, some of you may not be aware that John Wesley, as Paul talked about earlier in the week, one of the founders of Methodism, also happened to be a pretty big control freak. And he even to the point where he wanted people to sing the right way. So, Charles, when people sing, here's just some of Wesley's directions for singing. Learn these tunes before you learn any others. Afterwards, learn as many as you please. All right, well, I guess he wants to know what the canon is. Sing them exactly as they are printed here without altering or mending them at all. And if you have learned to sing them otherwise, unlearn it as soon as you can. Have you always sung every Wesley hymn exactly as it was written?
Oh, I have failed.
All right.
I have failed Mr. Wesley for sure.
All right, well, how about this one? Sing lustily and with good courage.
Yeah.
Beware of singing as if you were half dead or half asleep.
Yeah.
But lift up your voice with strength. Be no more afraid of your voice now, nor more ashamed of it being heard than when you sung the songs of Satan.
That's powerful.
Yeah, right?
That's powerful. Anybody else feel ashamed out there this morning because of that?
Have you sang half dead?
Yeah.
So, Charles, you've been at worship music since you were in your teens, right? You've been leading churches in worship.
Yeah.
What? Tell us some things you've learned through the years about music and its importance in the life of the faith.
I think probably one of this, I don't want to say saddest, but one of the moments where it gets a little heart-wrenching for me is when people say, I just don't have a good enough voice to be able to sing, right?
You just made Charles sad.
No, but
It's not the first person I've made sad.
It is an opportunity for us when we get together and we sing songs together that we create a different kind of bond with each other. You guys have a bond together, and people who sing together have a particular kind of bond. And it doesn't matter whether you're singing. I know sometimes you'll sing a song and maybe an old memory will come up, and it might create somewhat of an emotion. I agree. I think we should learn these melodies pretty well. It's scientific. It's science is on our side that as we get older, these are the melodies we'll remember. And if we develop dementia, Alzheimer's, these are the melodies that we will remember.
Yeah.
So
because music touches a different spot in our brain, and I've often heard that people who couldn't even speak anymore, but they could sing, which is quite remarkable.
Relatively, that area of the brain is saved from the disease, which is amazing that we have that ability to pull back these memories.
I would just, when you say that, because, as in an earlier podcast, I talked about how bad my singing is, but what I can say is I need other people to carry me. Yeah. I do enjoy singing in a congregational setting, but when I can lose myself and be carried by, I need other people to lead me, right? I need help. Some of the more meaningful moments for me have been annual conference worship services when people have been singing at the top of their voices. It's when people sing as if they were half dead that it gets really hard.
That's right.
So, Charles, one of the things that I so appreciate about you is, as, say, a pastor like Steve or me, is we're going to preach something, and we're preaching the sermon series, Experiencing God, and this week we're going to be talking about music. You are able to take the songs that you select for Sunday and dovetail them to the message. can you talk just a little bit about the process around worship, how it's planned, how music is selected?
Yeah, I think probably one of the harder jobs in worship planning is the job that Susan, Aaron, myself, everybody that participates in worship in a church, that we have to do is sit down with the topic of the day and figure out, how do I make this come alive to you, to the people? Because like y'all said earlier, sometimes they might forget part of the sermon.
Really? That's shocking.
But they'll remember that anthem, or they'll remember that song that really spoke to them, and I do think it's weighty. It has a lot of weight to it, and I hope people respect that when they say, I don't like that song, that it was chosen with a purpose. It was chosen because it might touch a little bit deeper. You look at some of the hymns. A hymn that we're going to sing this week is "It Is Well With My Soul." It's a lovely hymn. The meaning, and most people know the meaning behind it. The Spafford had his wife and daughters, 4 daughters, on a trip to Europe. Hits another ship. The wife sends back word to her husband, Mr. Spafford, saved alone. And that's a strong 2 words, saved alone, for any father to hear about. You guys have daughters. That would be a hard text message to get. And he travels to Europe to pick up his wife, to meet his wife, and he goes over the wreckage where he can still see the boards and he can still see the wreckage. And he pins the words, "When peace like a river attendeth my soul." It is well with my soul. Attendeth my way is actually what he says. It is well with my soul.
You see, I knew that.
Yeah.
I was about to correct you, but that's the power of music, that it sticks in your head, right?
That's right. But to sing that, you must sing that lustily. You must sing that
with good courage.
With good courage. You must sing that with your whole heart.
I like what Wesley, he says, sing in time. Whatever time is sung, be sure to keep with it. Do not run before or stay behind it, but attend close to the leading voices. That's what I need. And move therewith as exactly as you can. And take care not to sing too slow. This drawing way naturally steals on all who are lazy, and it is high time to drive it out from us. Amen. And sing all our tunes just as quick as we did at first.
I think that was the first awakening of the contemporary movement. Let's speed these songs up. Let's get a drum set in there to keep time.
Yeah.
So Charles, you have a unique capacity to, as we have a traditional service here and a modern service here, you have the unique ability to swim in both waters. Tell me how that developed, and what do you feel about that, the worship wars that were fought in the past about, traditional hymns versus modern music. Tell us your perspective.
Yeah, that's a hard line to pass. A lot of people in churches have developed almost a love-hate relationship with their worship leader because of the songs that they choose, not because of the person that they are. And that's difficult sometimes. I know many friends who have been pushed out of churches because they chose a guitar over an organ, and those are all difficult conversations to have. I think part of what it is it's how you present it to people. Like you said, the lyre of David, that was a wonderful stringed instrument. That you have, you go back all the way to the Egyptians about how when they were putting together the pyramids, the instruments that they came up with it wasn't necessarily worship music at the time, but that was music that got them through. And it's also music that from slavery, you go back and you look at slavery, they didn't have trumpets, they didn't have drum sets, they had hands. That's why you hear a lot of rhythm with the hands. That's how they created rhythm, and that's how they also got word to their friends, and that's how they learned who Jesus was, because they couldn't read. So it's all, that's why it's important for us to remember these hymns were contemporary at once.
Yeah, everything was new, right?
Yeah, they made my grandparents mad when they started singing these new hymns. And why are the words on the wall? Why don't we just read out of the hymnal?
You go back and read some of the early reviews of It Is Well With My Soul, and there were some people who just trashed it.
Yeah.
Like, how this is melodramatic, this doesn't celebrate God, this, so everything's new at one point.
Yeah. So one final thing, Charles, as we finish our time for today, there's a wonderful thing that I've noticed about a lot of hymns, including Amazing Grace. Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. There's a beginning point, and then the last verse, it says, when we've been there 10,000 years. So a lot of hymns really follow, it seems to me, a pattern where it sets the tone, and then in the end it rehearses the end. Mm-hmm. Same thing with How Great Thou Art, with Shout of Acclamation, When Christ Shall Come. Hymns really are an expression of the faith.
They really are, and they usually come, all of them, they really come from a deep, heartfelt conversation with God. You're singing somebody's transformation
experience, yeah.
And it's deep. And usually, and a lot of times, I don't know about you, but a lot of times you'll sing these songs and you'll get the Spirit of God comes in you, and you start to get the butterflies, and the musician hopefully is moving the song along, maybe even making it louder on the organ, pulling more stops out. Everything's crescendo and getting to this big climactic point of singing that last chorus. And that's, God shows up in those moments.
And that's exactly how we'll finish today. God shows up through the beautiful medium of music. And we trust that music speaks to you at Huntersville, music speaks to you at Denver, music speaks to you throughout the week as we go about experiencing God, not just on Sunday morning, but throughout the week. May the Lord bless you this week. We do hope to see you Sunday as we share beautiful music and beautiful word. Closing thought, Steve?
No, thank you for being with us as always, and take a look at these directions for singing, because the final word that Wesley has is, above all, sing spiritually.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next week.
All right, thank you.